think unless you have a biblical perspective on the role of the judge, you're going to be vulnerable to accepting the concept of commercial government. Commercial government is really the enemy of justice, the enemy of liberty, and the imposer of, I would say, ungodly cost in the marketplace. And that's because commercial government is the government as investor, right? Government as chief capitalist, government as herder and driver of people, of investments, of favoring one club, one group, one gang of executives and investors over another, taking part, deciding the winners and losers. If you don't have a constrained view of the role of the judge, then you're going to be open to fascism and crony capitalism and debt capitalism and even Marxist capitalism, where the state pretends to own everything and everybody is just kind of a borrower and a user of the state's goods, whether it be the old Trabant sedan or the apartment in the gray housing complex that you find yourself in as a resident in the old Soviet Union. Commercial government is a vast, vast machine. And when I think about the concept of commercial government, particularly in light of the evictions of 800 poor people in East Ridge back in earlier in the month on the 9th and the 10th of September, I think of the great example, which seems far removed from we common folk here in Hamilton County and Chattanooga, and that is that is the biggest pool of liquid capital in the state. And guess who owns this biggest pool of liquid capital in the state of Tennessee? Well, it's state government. It pretends to be state government, and that is the Tennessee Comprehensive Retirement System, the TCRS, and it's worth about, I forgot the story, I forgot the numbers I've published just within the past week about the value of that gigantic capitalist organism. Probably it's worth maybe $49 billion or so. It's worth more than maybe $48 billion. It's worth more than the state itself. The state itself, I think, if I'm remembering now, is about worth $31 billion in capital investment, which includes, of course, structures such as roads and Capitol buildings and court buildings and the like. But if you add those two together, the Comprehensive Tennessee Retirement System and state government, and you have an entity worth nearly $80 billion. And again, more than half of that is this retirement system, which is a liquid pool of government money. It belongs to government. It does not belong to you. You think it's tax money. Well, it's not. It is government as capitalist. And think of the great power that organization has. It invests where it wants. It favors developers. It favors friends of friends of friends. It favors those to whom political debts are owed. Not just in Tennessee economy, but around the world. It is an international player in the international financial sector. Just look once at the CAFR, the CAFR of that organization. It is stupendous. And my thinking is it's also unconstitutional because the state is prohibited from investing in any corporation. The state cannot invest in any corporation. And that is because the founders of our state don't want, even now, their will lives in their Constitution. So I don't use the past tense. I don't say didn't want. I say the founders don't want, right, through their living Constitution. They don't want the state to play commercial government. They don't want the state to be investor and capitalist. They want the state to be involving itself more purely with matters of justice and equity, and let the marketplace decide who gets rich and who gets poor. Let not the state be that party. And the crisis, September 9 and 10 in East Ridge, is a picture of crony capitalism. It is a picture of commercial government. And you're asking me, well, how is that? Well, as we've mentioned, and I hope to mention today again at my website, Nooganomics.com, the story is, you could say, of predatory capitalism or even parasitical capitalism. And it comes about through, here in Tennessee, from the 2011 act, which is called the Border Region Retail Tourism Development District Act. Okay, that's a long name. And if you're not asleep by the last couple of words of that statute name, you let me read it to you again, and that'll set you off into the doze that you so desperately need, having gotten to bed late last night. And it's called the Border Region Retail Tourism Development District Act, passed in 2011. And Brent Lambert, the mayor, Hal North, the city attorney, and the interim city manager, Mike Williams, have made effectively a kind of commercial warfare against an entrepreneur and capitalist who is serving the marketplace, okay? And he's serving the marketplace with an investment worth at least $3 million. It's a piece of mortgaged property, a former hotel, and it still is a hotel, and it's called Superior Creek Lodge. And that lodge is one that serves the poor people of our area. They live there on very, I'd say it's kind of expensive to live there, but there are no requirements, there are no leases, there are no background checks, there are no utility bills that you have to pay separately from your rent. You pay the whole, and you get a room, you get an efficiency, or you get a suite. A standard room, which has a micro fridge and a bed, and I think it has a telephone, may have a television set, is $589. And if you pay weekly, you get after having been there 90 days. You pay a week in advance. It's $139 per week. So that's about $35 a day. That's the daily prorated rate for the standard room at Superior Creek Lodge, according to the room rate sheet that I received from management. Well, you're asking, well, should we be hopeful? Now, the people in East Ridge, I think, who don't have a free market perspective, are hopeful that Superior Creek Lodge will go away. They don't like the fact that there are poor people around. They don't like the fact that there are occasional tradings of illicit narcotics, that the police are called. They don't like the fact that sometimes the denizens of this place, a very diverse group of people, often with little enough Christianity among them, there are fights, right? There are men who engage in fisticuffs and brawls, and the police have to come to break it up. And they don't like that. So the citizens are generally glad, it seems, by reporting that the poor people who live there have lost their places and are, in fact, they're gone. They're gone. They can't live there, so therefore the problem is solved. We don't have them anymore. The police officers can spend a little bit extra time munching on their hamburgers and and drinking their coffee, because they're not being called once again to Superior Creek Lodge on a public order or public disorder complaint. Well, the marketplace is providing the service, and the Tourism Development Act is putting pressure, a kind of lubricity. That would be, lubricity is a word for sexual desire. It's kind of a mix of lubrication, and I'm not sure what else is in there, but the word lubricity is a kind of carnal desire. It suggests carnality. It suggests arousal. Okay, there's kind of a sexual arousal in that word, and you can have lubricity for money as well as for a member of the opposite sex, right? If you're a man, you have desire for women, but also if you're a municipal corporation such as East Ridge, you can have this sense, this coveting, if you will, this yearning, this urgent, passionate yearning for property, and that's happened in East Ridge, and it happened, if you read the press accounts here in Chattanooga, in Chattanoogan.com, and also the Chattanooga Time-Free Press, the game changer was this Retail Tourism Development District Act. In 2012, in June, the city got approval for its bid to create the district, and you can download a copy of that application form, which runs, I don't know, 20 pages or so. It's got a lot of legalese in it, but you can discern the highlights by looking at it. And Mayor Brent Lambert said it's hard to quantify the impact this could have, he said, in a story by Kate Bells, and we probably won't be able to quantify it until about 20 years down the road. And he called this designation by the Commissioner of Revenue and the Commissioner for Economic and Community Development in Nashville, quote, the single most significant event to occur in East Ridge during his lifetime. And his quote goes on to say, "This provides us with the tools to really see a makeover of the city. It allows us to really go after some big-time economic development." And the benefit is that if you get this district and you get these, you get major developments which are described in the statute, well, you get a freebie, and the freebie is the parasitism of tax collection, and the tax is well, there's a 9% tax on retail sales. Most of that, probably about 6% of that, goes to the state of Tennessee, which pays the collectors, the retailers, a tiny percentage to collect the fee and pass it on. And in that portion, 75% will go to East Ridge, the town, and that's retail sales along most of the business corridor of that city. There's a kind of a gerrymandered looking map that shows the district. It covers exit 1 along Interstate 75, the business areas of East Ridge, and it creeps along the main road to and a couple of crossroads that cover most of the retail business in the town. And the statute says that if you have a triggering event that triggers the operation of the clock, it's a 30-year clock in which the money goes to East Ridge. It's a boon to East Ridge. It involves millions and millions of dollars in tax revenue that the city gets to keep. Do you see why there's pressure against Superior Creek Lodge, which is in a perfect position? That business is the victim of parasitical capitalism, and also you might say sort of eagle capitalism, where the eagle swoops down, right? The great patriotic eagle of economic development swoops down upon the rabbit, the prey, which is the home of the poor. That building and that business run by the Geisen family. David Geisen is the businessman who runs it. He lives in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, and he and his I think his mother, I'm not sure about what her first name is, but she apparently helped buy this property in 2007. So it's about 8 years in his hands, and he's been making a living serving poor people, right? And the people who are on the verge of poverty. That's how they've been described in press accounts. There were press accounts in 2010 dealing with police calls, their complaints about crime and so on, and so there are a lot of people who are kind of involved in street type crimes. These are not high crimes. These are often paper crimes dealing with the drug prohibition from the federal government that are rules enforced by the city police. Now, the benefit, let's see, I'm looking at the statute here, a deal that has discussion about bonds and how the town gets the 75%. So it's called apportionment. The city gets 75% of state sales and use tax collected in the district in excess of base tax revenues shall be apportioned and distributed to the municipality in an amount equal to the incremental increase in state sales and use taxes derived from the sale of goods, products, and services within the district in excess of base tax revenues. Now, I'm not sure that discussion about the base tax revenue, how important that is. I just haven't had the time to study that, and I've not consulted anyone about it. But in the end, it's 75% of the state's tax take, and there is a 30-year time limit for this to happen unless the act is renewed or unless the clock is somehow reset. And the clock is beginning to toll now, and that's why the mayor, Brent Lambert, says it'll take 20 years to know how this has worked. But in the meantime, there are tens of thousands and even millions of dollars more tax revenue that will come to East Ridge, and so we have to understand that Jordan Crossing, where the pro bass shops will be going in, is part of that picture. That is economic development. That is a better use of the land. Now, you know, the marketplace understands better use. In fact, the concept comes from the market. The market would say, if David Geisen is an entrepreneur making a living, he can be approached by a buyer of his property, and David Geisen will be given a proposal. Okay, your income stream is, let's say, let's say $750,000 a year. Let's say that's your profit. You earn. Let's say your profit is $500,000 a year running that business. We will buy the land from you. We will buy your buildings. In other words, we buy up your income stream, we sop up your income stream, and we'll pay you the principal, and we'll also pay you maybe 2 years worth of your income. So we would pay you $1 million, making up for 2 lost years of income. We'll pay you for the structures, which of course we'll destroy, and the land itself. And so that's a reasonable proposition that a developer might make to David Geisen. And I'm sure he's been hit for this already, but he doesn't have to sell, right? If he doesn't want to sell, he doesn't have to. If it's rational for him to stay and to serve his customers and to make a living doing that, well, then he can't be forced out of it. And that's what the marketplace is all about. Now, if the price were doubled, David Geisen may be a seller. I mean, he might sell if he got a better offer, but the offer that I've theorized about, well, it's just not enough to make him change his mind, right? It's not strong enough to alter the current of his life and his doings as the proprietor of Superior Creek Lodge in East Ridge. And the marketplace determines when the price goes up, right? If there's a lot of demand, then the price will go up, and the offers that David Geisen gets to sell out will be better. But what's happened here is that there's been an interruption of the market. The city has coming to pretend that it is the market. It is the marketplace, and it wants action now. It wants David Geisen to sell now, so that the developer, whichever one it is that has this place in view, and that may already have talked with David Geisen about a buy, will be able to get the land now. And the pressure of the market, one does not have to wait for that pressure to push the price higher. You see how this works? The market, let the marketplace decide. But no, we've had an interruption. It's called intervention, right? That's an intervention. We've had an intervention in the market, and the city has destroyed the asset of David Geisen. So now he has an asset which has a mortgage, does not produce the income stream that he enjoyed up through September the 9th or the 8th. He's made thousands of dollars in refunds. I think on the second day, on Thursday, September 10, he made about $15,000 worth of refunds to the ousted his ousted customers who lost their place, who lost their domiciles. And so what the city is doing is destroying an asset by saying, well, it has to be vacated because the buildings are all in danger of collapse. That's another, the question about their danger to the residents is another question that's kind of separate from this one. But I would say that yes, there is perhaps danger, but no, liability does not fall upon the municipal corporation, as Mike Williams, the interim city manager, said. Mike Williams said that it's on us. If we don't oust these people right now in the rain, in a thunderstorm, their deaths are on our heads. Well, no. And why not? Because due process adheres to their property rights to stay in their places until they're ousted by due process. And due process is where you protect your rights and your property and your livelihood, and you avoid being damaged, right? If you have due process, you can see a damage coming, a threat, and then you can avoid it. And that would be in court. That is always something that's judicial. There always has to be a place, where there's a venue, a fair place where a judge, Chris Helton in city court, will be where this case starts. And you would be able to say, well, no, I don't want to be evicted, and there has to be some kind of provision for me. I mean, I have my life here. I have no means of moving. I have no money, and I can pay the rent, and that's it. I've got to pay for my children and my food and my transportation, but I have nowhere else to go. I need to be compensated. That's what's called due process. And the city, because it declared an emergency, short-circuited due process rights. That is a violation of due process. That is an abuse of the concept of sovereignty, which the state claims, I think, in a very ungodly way, to claim for itself. And so also the state's subdivisions. East Ridge is a creature of the legislature. It is a municipal corporation that's made by the legislature. It's chartered by the General Assembly, and so it has that shaving of sovereignty itself. And that's what it pretended to use, or it used in this violent act of throwing innocent people woken up at 9 o'clock during the rainstorm and told, get out, otherwise you're going to die. And it's not that we're going to kill you, we police officers who are banging on your door. It's not that we're going to kill you, but this building is going to collapse. That is, of course, a marvelous exaggeration, a marvelous and exciting exaggeration. In fact, it's so big it's such a big exaggeration that it seems to allow everything to go forward. It magnifies the good faith. It magnifies this pretense of good faith that the city officials have, and they're saying, well, we're concerned about our residents, right? We're so concerned about our residents that we're going to do this, and there's not going to be any due process. No one had due process, not even the main victim in this story. David Geisen was given due process. What should have happened was an immediate hearing, an emergency hearing in city court. The claims are made, a defense is made, and remediation brought to bear immediately to avoid condemnation. There has to be you don't let the axe fall until there's a trial, right? Even if there's this is effectively an execution of a corporation, and figuratively the man and family behind it, an execution without a trial. And the victims, again, are the poor people like Larry Setliff, the homeless man who has my business card and has had it for a week, and I don't know where he is now. Last time I saw him was 2 Sundays ago at Memorial, and I said, Larry, call me when you've landed somewhere. As a poor man who's entirely dependent upon the government for everything. He's got bad health, and was in the hospital for several days after collapsing from a urinary tract infection that he had at Comfort Inn when he was thrown out of Superior Creek Lodge. So a man in bad health has no means other than his Social Security check. And people like that, these are the victims of what is effectively a corporate beheading, a beheading of Superior Creek Lodge. But here's the good news. The good news is that David Geisen, according to a phone call that I made this morning from a party who asked not to be identified, the good news is that David Geisen is going to fight back. And that's the way the market is. Hey, I own this place. I'm serving these people. These are my customers. And though they may have bad grammar, though they may wear wife-beater T-shirts, though they may be people of no refinement whatever, though they may have bad breath, though they may use the King's English in a bad way, even though they may not go to church, even though some of them may traffic in narcotics, they are my customers, and I am a hotel, and I am firing people, getting rid of people who are troublemakers. I'm doing all these things, but they are my customers, and you, City of East Ridge, you cannot stop me from serving them. That's what the marketplace does. And that's what every entrepreneur does. These are his customers, and he's going to come back into the fight. So he is going to be making repairs. He's going to be investing possibly past $1 million to repair this place because he knows it's valuable. And so until the point comes where the marketplace says, it's time to sell, David, until that time, David Geisen, from my caller, is going to be investing in his business. And he's doing what my advice to you is: invest locally, divest nationally. He's going to be selling some mutual funds, maybe liquidating some other investments, and paying for engineering work and design work and architectural work to bolster those staircases and balconies. This is David Tulis, and make sure if you have a cell phone problem, you call Cell Surgeon in Northgate by the old Chicago Pizza. Cell Surgeon, open even on Sunday. The number is 668-0100. That's Cell Surgeon, taking care of all your cell phone needs. And wanted to mention Bruce Krebs. If you need to start a business and don't have your own ideas for one, Bruce Krebs at Entrepreneur Source is your source. This is David Tulis.